Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the school committee meeting of August 20th, 2024. In front of you, you have an agenda. May I have a motion to approve?
So move.
May I have a second? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. Well, we'll open, first of all, to public comment. Seeing no public comment, we'll move on to the superintendent's update.
Sure. Well, good evening, everybody. This is a delightful superintendent update, because I want to share that since our last hiring update in June, a lot has happened. We had 33 open teaching positions across our schools, and I'm delighted to announce that we are almost completely staffed.
Wow.
With 33 positions almost filled. We are waiting on just a few. We have 32 of the 33 teachers who have committed with contracts. So this is very exciting. This is a huge feat. We have not been able to fully staff our schools for more than 3 years. So I feel that we have made such great efforts to show that Nantucket is a fantastic district and a really great place to live and work. I want to give very special thanks to Eileen Taveras, who is our HR specialist. She has been working around the clock to onboard all of our new staff, get contracts out, answer their questions. And she and the town of Nantucket HR department have been using a new onboarding system. It's a platform called NeoGov, and this system really allows for a more streamlined process of getting our NPS employees who are new into the system with town HR right away, which means they can get their paperwork and their employee numbers and everything much faster than in the past. So we're very excited about that. I also want to thank all of our principals and directors who have worked incredibly hard to recruit, retain, and help find housing for our newest educators. We could not be in this place without all of your hard work, so thank you very, very much. Back to school preparations. So while July and August are pretty quiet for teachers and students, the district leadership team has been hard at work to prepare our buildings, our grounds, update our educational technology, prepare meaningful professional development and professional learning over the course of the year for teachers, and engaging instructional plans for students at each grade level and content area. We have had quite a few office and room renovations in our buildings, and everything looks fantastic. So a huge thank you to Chip Clooney, Facilities and Grounds, for working very hard to get our offices set, our rooms prepared, looking great, and just very pleased about that. On August 23rd, this Friday, we will have our new Educator Orientation Day, where we will welcome all of our newbies. And we will do some typical things, some team building activities, give them lots of information about the district. Some they'll retain and some they won't, but that's totally normal. It's a lot to share in one day. We'll send them on a campus scavenger hunt, introduce them to their mentors, as each of them will receive a mentor, regardless of how many years of experience they've had in the past. It's important that they learn about Nantucket. And finally, we'll send them on a bus tour of the island with a little stop at one of our favorite spots to enjoy an afternoon beverage. So then on August 26th, we will welcome all staff in the auditorium with breakfast, opening remarks, and a special keynote address by Ken Williams in the auditorium. You have received books from me called Ruthless Equity, which are written by Ken. He has a great message, and he has been working with the leadership team this summer to determine and assist us with how to really launch professional learning communities in looking at student data and identifying and supporting teachers as they work on essential learning outcomes for students. What is it that students need to know to be successful in their grade? We will continue our PD days after August 26th with a district safety day on Tuesday, where all of our staff will be trained on safety procedures. Reunification, which is fairly new. We had been working on it or trying to work on it over the course of the last several years, and now we finally have a reunification plan, as well as our new safety system called Raptor Technologies. This is an important component safety in general is an important component that really hasn't gotten as much attention as it should have, and it's going to be a priority this year. We feel that it is necessary to do the work to make sure that our students feel safe, our staff feel safe, that we have all of the appropriate protocols in place, and that we are able to execute drills and all of that appropriately, so that our students, again, are absolutely, they are a precious commodity, and we have to make sure that they're safe, and ourselves as well. So we will be spending one of our days also looking at the new Department of Education IEP form that was created by the Department of Ed, and the electronic platform called EdPlan that we will be implementing this year to build those IEP programs. So that is definitely a shift, something new. And just lots of other small things that will be done in our schools, where our principals will be working with their staff to support them and to get them ready to welcome students. So it's a week full of professional learning and training to help us all be prepared to welcome our students on September 3rd. So that is what I've got.
Thank you.
Sure.
Tim, any comments, questions?
No.
Yes. Which positions are still vacant?
So they're almost all filled. I mean, we have already reached out to candidates, interviewed. We are waiting. I'm waiting to have my final interview with them, set their salary and everything. We have an ELA position at Nantucket High School. We had one teacher who applied for 2 positions and was eligible for 2 positions at the high school. We had someone pull out of one of their positions, so we were able to slip him in to the other position that he had applied for, and we have other qualified candidates for the ELA position. So those are the 2 that are currently not yet totally fixed. I'm waiting to meet with one special educator again at the high school, but that should be coming very, very soon. And everyone else is set. Just all the contracts have been signed, so that's everyone. Okay. It's incredible. I mean, this is the first time that we've really been fully staffed since before the pandemic. So.
Yes. So, you mentioned that there are 37 open positions, and you have 32 already signed, but you have 5 out.
33.
33.
Yes,
but
33.
Then you have 4.
No, there are 33 open positions.
33.
So
Okay,
32
okay.
have signed contracts with us.
Gotcha.
So
Okay.
we're just
Okay.
working on the paperwork to get them onboarded
That's
fully.
awesome.
So.
And then you mentioned IEPs. I'm just curious, how do we work with the independent schools on creating IEPs for their students, and do we?
We do. We assist them, and they work with us and with Dr. Gately. I don't know if Deb, you want to mention anything about that?
I'm happy. Do you need to come
Sure.
up?
Do you mind coming up?
Not
Thank
at
you.
all.
She's the pro. Better to hear it right from her.
So regarding students in the independent schools, what we do is we engage in a process called Child Find, which is a federally mandated program that we advertise. And we also have a cooperative relationship with the private schools. I meet with them in the spring of every year to explain how we can work with them to provide services for students. And we also have to, as part of our federal funding, submit a letter of commitment saying that we're going to be allocating funding to them for that purpose as well. But in terms of the evaluation piece, it works just like for a student that attends public school. When a student is identified in need, we first send someone over to an observation, and then if it's determined that there are interventions we can put in place to assist them with, sometimes students aren't fully referred because they just needed that help to figure out what would be the appropriate approach for that student. But a student that then is determined as having a suspected disability, we then engage them in evaluation, they sign the evaluation consent, and we evaluate them and then hold the IEP meeting just as we would for any student in the district. What is different about a student who receives services from the private school, and we currently have 9 students between Lighthouse and New School that receive services, what is different is that through the equitable services program, we do not provide services at that school, they're required to come to our school. So depending on their grade level, they're assigned to the school that a service provider at our schools will provide them that service. We typically try to schedule private school students for services first thing in the morning because there's a differential in time from when we start to when they start, and we provide transportation for them to come to the school, and then we bring them back to their home school. That doesn't always work, and case in point, to no one's fault, after grade 5, where the schedule changes appreciably between CPS, with CPS I should say, they have what's called a waterfall schedule, so we have to, the transportation is where the tricky part is because it's at different times each day, but we accommodate and we figure it out. And sometimes parents are agreeable to that and sometimes they're not. So we do whatever we can to provide the services. If they choose not to accept them based on that circumstance, we still try to work with providing. They still remain a student. We still do consultation. But our responsibility ends in providing the service by explaining this is your service time. Most of our students, I would say, of the current kids that are eligible, most of them come between the 7:45 and 8:30 in the morning period and receive that service. So they're evaluated and in service the same way kids in the public schools would be.
Thank you. I just learned about this and I was like, how does this work? So
Yeah,
thanks
no,
for explaining
absolutely.
it.
And as I said, and then our second component of Child Find, because the second piece of it is with any students that are homeschooled or students who haven't yet reached 5 years old. So starting at 3 years old, they can also be evaluated. And then we make the determination of whether or not they receive services in our Pathways program, or they can also be considered to be services only students. So we have kids at age 3 and 4 that come just for speech, just for OT, and that's the other component of it. So we try to do our best to hit all of the areas. All right, you're welcome. Yeah, of course.
Thank you, Dr. Gately, because my answer would have been a fraction of yours. So thank you.
Not at this time, for later on, but thank you.
Beth, would you just help me understand? Did I hear you right?
Raptor.
Raptor. So what
Yeah.
is
So Raptor is a system that it's actually it's not I wouldn't say it was a camera system, and again I might pull Melissa up to talk about this as she's been deep in it. It basically records our visitors coming in with where a photo is taken, photo ID is scanned in, so we have a permanent record of who comes into our school when they're there. They wear a sticker that has their photo on it, and it helps us to keep track of who is in our building. It's a much better way of accounting for who comes in, who comes out, it also has to do also with our key usage. It also is an alert system, so if something happens where there is a lockdown, every teacher or administrator or anybody who is a staff member can get the alert app on their phone and have an alert come right up. So that would allow them to lock their classroom down, secure their classroom if it was a lockout, fire drill, all of that. So it's just another layer of security that would be very helpful, and it's done in a way that isn't, it's done in a quiet way. So it can, if there is a serious threat, that can happen without it being a full announcement over on the loudspeaker, etc. There's a lot, and it's a great system in identifying students, where students are when they've been pulled. Let's say a student was walking on near the gym to use the restroom, and that student should be in a different location, but they're going to the restroom. So the alert comes down. We can he or she can be pulled into the gym and accounted for. The teacher whose class he or she is supposed to be in will know that student is accounted for in the gym. So this is something that's quite technological in that we can account for students without having to do the manual, who has this, who has that, who has the student who brought that person in, et cetera. It's very clear. I'm sure I'm missing so many things, so I don't know, Melissa, if you want to share anything else that needs to be.
I think you hit the big points. The other thing is when does track the
That's right. Sex offender.
sex offender registry, so that it will come up and they won't be allowed in there. It'll tag that, and it's all 50 states. Also, it also does, you can put in custody orders, or you can put in emergency contacts, and all the reunification information goes right in there. So our safety plan will be in there. Our reunification.
Do you mind if I ask you to come up, because you're saying such important stuff? I'm sorry, Melissa, and I'm going to ask you to repeat what you
Right, thank
just
you.
said. But I just
think I have to fix the computer while I'm up here, but I'm not qualified to do that.
I'll take care of it.
We'll just say okay. How about that?
Yes, thank you.
All right. So the visitor registry does scan the sex offender registry. So when they're in there, if somebody's on a sex offender database, it'll come up on the screen, and then you will have to go through the sex offenders with that same name. So they'll come up, and you'll see the picture that's on the ID, and you'll see the picture of the person in the registry, and choose. It'll also automatically alert the SRO. So the SRO will know immediately that there's somebody in the building that can't be there, and she will know to come to the school. And what else was I saying? With the
Custody.
reunification, and custody is the same way. So that if a student can't be released to a certain person, it can be all loaded into the system, so that the secretaries or the ESPs don't have to go through all that information. It'll all be right there on the sign-in. It can be expanded to use it for events such as athletic events or concerts, whatever you want it to be used for. We just have to program it and make sure that the data is clean in all of those systems, so that we can have people here that we know are safe for the students. Also, the reunification, everything will be uploaded into Raptor. So our plans, our reunification plan, our safety plan, our maps of our schools, and all law enforcement will have all of that information, so that in the event of an emergency, it will all be right there in their device. If teachers don't want to put it on their phone, it can go on the device that they use at school, so it's on there too. So it's a container, but it's also, like Beth was telling you, all the class lists are in there, so if they are missing a student, we'll know right away. There's a way to go in there and say a student is injured or a student is missing, or so that we have all the information. When the emergency's over, when we go to reunify the students, we'll have all of that information in Raptor, so that we can make sure that the kids are going home with the right families, and we know who they're supposed to be going home with also. So it's a nice way to make sure that it's all set up. Also, we know that technology doesn't always work, so we'll have to have hard copies in case that ever were to happen and we didn't have the connectivity that we need to use, but it's at least all organized for us in one place.
So is it in the vestibules? And are the secretaries, are our front office team still
Yes.
having a rapport with
Yes,
the
absolutely.
people
So they
coming in?
still go in and they scan it in. The nice thing is that once it's scanned into one school, it goes to all 4 schools. So you scan in NES, and then it's logged in for all 4 schools, so that you can move within the building, so you don't have to scan in every single time. So the next time you come in, you tell your name or you sign in, and then it'll come back up. They'll print the badge for you, and then you can go on your way. So it's intuitive that way.
Will you eliminate the speakers altogether as far as putting it out system-wide, verbally? There's a lockdown, or
No, because I think we'll still need multiple
Right,
methods.
yeah.
So there is, Raptor does have this obnoxious sound that goes off, so if it's a lockdown. So the nice thing about Raptor is any adult can go ahead and initiate a lockdown, because normally no one's really going to ever have a situation where they go on a loudspeaker and do it. You know, it just doesn't happen that way. That's how we practice drills, but in real life it doesn't usually happen that way. So anyone that goes in, so you hear something wrong, you need to initiate a lockdown, teachers can do that right on their phone or on their device, and any person can do that. It's a 2-step thing, so that we're not going to have lockdowns happening, but it does give everybody the opportunity and the empowerment to call a lockdown. We all know, like in Sandy Hook, the custodian called the lockdown, going up and down the hallways just yelling lockdown. So it doesn't, we don't always have the luxury of being able to use a PA system, but I still think that it should be a backup in case it's not working.
so if we had to install certain speakers for this, for Raptor to give out that obnoxious sound?
Nope,
or-
it's all, it comes out of our devices. So,
So it would come out
yeah.
of your phone or your laptop?
Yes,
Or
yes.
Huh. I wonder if, I'm thinking of our special needs students and how that's always so delicate when we're doing lockdowns and we're doing practices, and just that, and for any student who's
Yeah.
just anxious as well, to have that loud noise. But I would presume that that will all be part of the training, and they'll
Yes.
get to know that sound.
Yes,
And
just like a fire drill. So
Mhm.
really, that's how you want it to be. You want it to be as automatic as you hear a fire drill, you're lining up, you're going outside. You hear the lockdown, you're going to run, you're going to hide, you're going to fight. So
Yeah.
just training people and getting them more comfortable of the safety procedures, and that really is the goal.
yeah, I'm thrilled that we're doing this. I didn't know we were looking into it, so
Yeah.
it's great.
So I wanted to thank Melissa because she really has taken this and run with it this
Mhm.
year, and I feel very lucky that that she has kind of spearheaded all of this. It's definitely a need. We need to do this. It doesn't mean that it has to happen every year, but we need to be able to present it this year and do updates each year and trainings with new staff, etc. But we really need to do this. It's been a while. We had recently we 5 years ago we had an emergency that was unclear. It was a false alarm. So this hopefully will solidify our practices and our protocols so that if something like that happens, we all know what to do.
And you can all communicate together on the app.
Yes, we can.
Wow.
And we're
Yes.
looping in, Travis is looping in the coaches so that
Yep.
they'll have the capabilities to use it when they're on the field. So we'll have a plan for if students are outside and we need to get them to a safe place. We're really thinking of all the different scenarios that could play out and making sure that we have the plans on the Raptor system so everybody that is working with the kids has the plan.
Yeah.
We assume that the fire and police will be issuing or doing drills that are a little bit out of the ordinary to keep us informed and on our toes, perhaps during a dismissal or an arrival. These are things that we have to be ready and know how to do, even though it's much easier to have it done in the middle of the day and not during lunch and things like that. But we have to be able to do them because in a regular everyday experience, there's no specific
Right.
time that this might happen. It could happen during a football game. It could happen, before school. It could happen while camp is in session. There are so many things that could happen, and we need to make sure that all of the people that use our campus are fully trained and understand how to do this. So.
During our safety day, we'll go through a lot of tabletop exercises that this is what could happen during arrival. This could be happening during the cafeteria time so that people aren't blindsided by it. We're just not going to say we're going to do a drill during this time. So the more we expose people to these situations, the better prepared they're going to feel, and they'll feel more safe in trying things out so that they understand that common sense is going to be paramount in crisis situations. So not every situation is going to have a very clean cut scenario on what you have to follow. So there are going to be many different components that come in when you're talking about a crisis situation. So just using tabletop exercises and getting people talking about safety is going to be a big step for us.
If I may, I can expand on what tabletop exercises are. It's basically scenarios that could happen. And it might be something like a chemical spill happened at the corner of Bartlett and Surfside. It could be that there was there were shots fired, behind the high school. And so we have to know and consider those scenarios so that we're ready. So those are those tabletop exercises.
And maybe you can't answer this publicly, but does the police still come in and do trainings in the school so that the officers know the layout?
Yes, they do.
Thank you. No more questions?
Great.
Thank you so much.
you.
Oh, sorry.
I just have a million.
Okay.
That's
That's
what I'm
okay.
trying to defend myself for the most part. So if I'm an individual coming to the school, do I still have to leave my driver's license at the front office?
Nope, it'll be scanned in.
That's awesome.
Yes.
And
Then you won't forget
then, let's say there's an individual that comes in. I'm just curious what happens in this situation. They are on the sex offender registry list. They get scanned in. It's determined that they are, in fact, the person. How does that person in the front office handle that? You said there's an alert that goes to
the SRO. So the SRO, until the SRO gets there, the principal will get the alert too. So the principal will come out and make sure that they're escorted outside of the building, and then until Cassie comes there. At that point, it becomes a law enforcement situation. So our role as the school is to make sure the students are safe, and then if there is a person that's unsafe, it goes to law enforcement.
I'm sorry about the safety of the person who has to interact with that person.
And it'll be discreet. We'll train them on how to, we have to just wait 1 second until the principal comes out here, and we'll make sure that the principal knows the right language to get them outside the door, and then hand them over to law enforcement. You got it.
Tim, any questions?
No.
All right, you really can sit down now.
Thank you.
All right.
Ready to move on
Yes,
to
I am.
the draft district improvement plan?
Yes, of course.
In year 2.
All right. So, as you might remember from last year, we presented the district improvement plan year 1 and our district strategy, which is a 5-year strategy. The district strategy itself has not changed. It is something in place that you will see over the course of the next 4 years, so from 2023 to 2028. Our vision remains the same, our mission remains the same, and as do our core values. None of those have changed. Our strategic objectives also remain the same. They are 3. Increasing student outcomes and achievement, securing and maximizing resources, and nurturing a culture of inclusion, collaboration, and communication. Our strategic initiatives, which are more of the how we are going to implement the strategic objectives, there are some under each of the 3 objectives. So I won't go through those specifically, but you can certainly read how we are going to be doing that. And the action plan, which is the part that I'm going to be explaining to you, action plan number 2, year 2, is goals that are tied directly to those strategic objectives and initiatives. And these goals, some of them are very similar to the goals from the previous year that continue on needing to have a second year to focus on completion, or have been changed slightly in order to accommodate the needs and the expectations this year. You will notice that right here with a red arrow, excuse me, you'll see the school improvement plans. The school improvement plans have not yet been updated. We will be providing those updates in October as each of the schools puts together their goals and aligns their school improvement plan with the district improvement plan. We are also still waiting for our MCAS results, which should be coming out very shortly. The state results have not yet been released, so once we know all of that, we will make sure that you have each of those school improvement plans. So I thought that it would be helpful for me to go through some of the goals that have changed or are new and might be of interest to you to go in more detail. So the first one is goal number 1, which I did mention actually in my remarks earlier, that we have been adopting a new human resources onboarding program called NeoGov, and that aligns with the town of Nantucket's HR department, and so it's made things move a lot faster. So each of these categories explains who is responsible for making sure the goal is being, their progress is being made on the goals, and also the action steps, so specifically what we will be doing over the course of the year, what the outputs are, what kind of things we're going to see happen, and then finally the outcomes, which is the final expectation. So that is one example right there of a newer goal. The next one that I thought would be helpful to outline to you is goal number 3, which is around, it's actually a collaborative goal between central office, educational technology department, and the district leadership team, particularly around our website. So the goal remains much the same in the language. However, our action steps add a little bit more to our website. So by June of 2025, NPS will enhance, diversify, and support culturally responsive two-way communication among all stakeholders through multimedia means such as new NPS website platform, and create social media communication in multiple languages. So action steps 3 and 4 are really our focus, and that's updating and uploading documents, plans, and resources for public use through the npsk.org website, and then notifying and training staff on the new website. So that's definitely a focus, and again, multiple, whoops, we're restarting. Sorry, but we can certainly keep going with paper. So goal number 4 is another one that I thought would be interesting, because you'll see that the goal has to do with providing inclusive and challenging learning experiences by the curriculum and instruction department. These will be done by implementing curriculum aligned with district scope and sequences and measured by increased growth and achievement on benchmark and summative assessments. The action step that's new to us and definitely important to know about is action step number 3 on that goal 4, supporting all schools in creating and implementing content-based professional learning communities for regular data review cycles to ensure essential learning outcomes are met at each grade level and content area. And then, of course, the 4th one is to continue to explore curriculum alignment and resource adoption for health and wellness and social emotional learning. So those are also 2 important action steps that we will be really focusing on this year. Goal number 5 has an additional action step surrounding professional learning communities. We've talked about how this is really a central theme of ours this year, particularly around using important evidence and data to determine those essential learning outcomes for students. So in goal 5, action step number 4 focuses very clearly on those PLCs. In goal number 6, we move to English learners, and this is important around sheltered English instruction, PD, and the importance of bringing this back as a real area of focus. Particularly, we will start at the high school. So you'll see in the action steps, number 1 is secure outside SEI PD provider for year-long professional development focus at the high school with general education content area teachers. So our ELE director has been working hard to set up a plan with the principal and the school administration so that the teachers will have high quality professional development with SEI strategies. So that's really important there. In goal number, I'm going to jump now to goal number 12. Goal number 12 is the district leadership team goal, and this is about safety. So by June 2025, district leadership team members will collaborate, develop and share the district safety protocols and reunification plan with all stakeholders. So as mentioned, this is a real focus this year. So particularly number 2 and number 3, we're going to be focusing on with action steps, implementing building-based safety teams to engage in tabletop exercises, which you heard about before. And then in action step number 3, implementing the Raptor system for visitor sign-in and reunification and training all staff on Raptor. So those are our new action steps for goal number 12. Moving along to goal number 13. This is educational technology. With our ed tech department, we are definitely looking at best practices around upgrades and configuration of equipment and services, particularly our network. So you'll see the action steps are all about finding vendors and professionals who can assist with upgrades and verifications. I am proud to say that today we had, I cannot remember the name of the company, but we did have a group of professionals in doing a full network audit on our system, which is something that is a long time coming. So we need to see and know what are the areas that really need some work to make sure that our network is always available and up and running. So that's an important goal there. Goal 14 and 15 are both facilities goals, and I'd say the only pieces that might be helpful to know is that on goal number 14, action step 2 focuses on 24 Surfside's modular office design. As you might remember, we changed our plan from a complete renovation of the 24 Surfside house into offices into instead providing that for staff housing and instead creating offices in the adjoining property around it. The property itself could maintain 3, if the house were removed or moved, it could maintain 3 separate units. But with the house where it is right now, we can still use some of the adjoining property around it to create modular offices that will accommodate kind of new. It'll kind of be like a new central office part. We have a lot of our, as you've heard before, we have a lot of our district employees, leadership in our school buildings, and we'd like to be able to give back those offices and classrooms for them and have them all in one place. So, goal number 15 is around ADA compliance. We discovered early this year that some of our school entrances and exits were not ADA compliant, and we've done a lot around doing walkthroughs and making sure that certain things have been updated. We've had we will have crosswalks added for any folks that are coming from our areas of disability, our handicapped parking spaces, etc. So definitely an area that needed some attention, and we're making that an important part. And then we have finally athletics. There are some really meaningful goals, I would say. Goal number 16 focuses primarily on professional development for coaches, and I think that this is a long time coming, so I'm thrilled that this goal is being put into place, and it's important, especially around social and emotional learning for coaches to understand about students. Definitely MIAA is supporting that, so it's very good to see that. Goal 17 has to do with student leadership, student athlete leadership council, and developing that. And finally, goal 18 has to do with continuing to strengthen relationships and involvement by staff and faculty in our sports program and sports events. So that is the District Improvement Plan Year 2 action plan in a nutshell. I am happy to answer any specific questions related to any of these goals. And again, please look forward to our school improvement plans, which will align with these goals, coming in October in an October meeting. So,
Thank you, Beth. Tim.
I'm all set. Thank
Great.
you.
Beth, I just have a couple
Sure.
of questions.
Yep.
We just went through a great presentation of Raptor. So here it says by June 2025, the DLT members will collaborate and ensure that the tabletop plans are for all stakeholders. Who are the stakeholders?
All of our students, all of our staff and our coaches as well. So stakeholders are really all of the people who will be using our schools, including the community school, because they use our buildings as well.
Right.
So anyone who comes in and utilizes on a regular basis our facilities would need to be trained on Raptor.
So the only thing that jumps out to me on that, and I thought that's what you were going to say to me, is that if it's live right from the beginning of school, June 2025, is that a bit late to be still teaching and training people as will actually be in school as of the early September? So I just wondered, does it make sense to move that date up?
I think that's completely reasonable. So we could certainly push the date to perhaps November. We may have to make sure that we have all of our coaches trained, and our coaches have different seasons that they work with. So we'll just need to, we can certainly bring them in and do some specific training on Raptor if we need to. So, but I think if that's a feasible date for you by November of 2024, obviously I would bring this to the district leadership team, make sure that they agree, but I think it shouldn't be a problem. Again, this is a goal that was put into place last year for introduction of Raptor, and now we're in the implementation phase. So we want to make sure that we are implementing earlier. Yes.
No, I'd appreciate you just bringing it, and if they agree, that's great.
Sure. So I will mention November 2024 as an option to change, or not an option, but as your recommendation to change,
Suggestion, yeah.
of course.
Thank you. On 16, when
Yes.
you had talked about the professional development for coaches, I wonder whether QPR, the question, persuade, and refer, will be part of the training for all coaches. I know we've talked about that in the past. And I'm wondering, are all coaches trained in providing Narcan?
That's a good question. I believe that they are not, so that is something that we can certainly create as an option, as a necessity. They are all CPR trained. That was one of the things that we did just recently this year, and I will work with our athletic director to make sure that we can schedule Narcan training. QPR is definitely something that we are interested in. We our coordinator of special student support and SEL is working on how to incorporate that and what the best timeline is for that to come out, so that it is not one additional training that needs to happen, and that people see it as a necessity, or not as a necessity necessarily, but as a real advantage. So hopefully we'll have that set soon, and certainly our coaches will try to do too.
Super.
Ask a question?
Yes.
Can you refresh my memory what QPR is?
It's question, persuade, and refer. So it's students and adults who are trained in being comfortable in the language of talking around suicide.
Okay.
And so it's a suicide prevention technique, but it's really about being able to have a comfort in the conversation of actually using its name. Are you looking to hurt yourself? Do you have a plan? Rather than just not knowing what to say and just saying, let me refer you to somebody.
That's something that you guys offered at our house?
We did, we had a training, some teachers did come to that training at our house, but the town has also offered it. But Sharing Kindness, which is a partner in some of the not-for-profits here, have offered to do a free training.
I'd love to be kept in the loop on it.
Yeah,
Sure.
okay. Thanks, Travis. That's it for me. Thank
Okay,
you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Beth. Okay, Martin, you are up.
Good evening. This is the fourth quarter or the end of year budget report. So FY24, we expanded fully the operating budget of the school. It was a challenging year, as was reported throughout the year on all the three quarterly presentations. But we ended up ending, like I said, fully expanding the budget, which was a $2.9 million bigger than the budget in FY23. The increase was mostly driven, obviously, by contractual obligations and payroll increases, as well as some projects that were done throughout the year. We ended up purchasing expending $97,000 for a math professional development in line with the new curriculum that's being introduced, and as well as a $75,000 for a backup rubric appliance which we bought for the virtual network. This was supposed to enhance the security and obviously prevent a loss of data in a possible cyber attack like the one we experienced 2 years ago. Other expenses, there were smaller repair and maintenance expenses as well. The biggest expense by far this year and the biggest challenge for us this year was the tuition, special education tuition. We ended up expending close to $658,000 more than the previous year. The rates have been increased throughout the state over the past 2 years, more than 20%. They have grown, and so this was something that we addressed in the FY25 budget by increasing the tuition line, and we'll be further looking into it for the FY26 budget once we start discussions. It's just something that we need to monitor, because these expenses are somewhat difficult to predict. We know the kids as of today, but then obviously that can change throughout the year. So we always have to keep up. We work closely with Deb, and she's done a great job. We're getting a substantial increase in circuit breaker, which offsets tuition expense, and it comes from the state. So we'll see how that number, if it maintains the level that we expect to get in FY25, that would be very helpful for us going forward with that particular expense. The community school ended up the year with a $13,500 deficit. It was, as we were reporting throughout the year, they were always ahead with revenues, but we knew that in the last quarter, as revenues start to slow down, it would be a close call. It's something that the community school can absorb. They do have a healthy fund balance, and this was mostly driven by the market adjustment that was done for all employees in the town. Community school did not have that in the budget, yet it was only fair for them to provide it, since since everybody else was providing it, working for the town. So that's one of the reasons. Growth in medical insurance costs, obviously. As you all know, community school is responsible for covering all health benefits, all the insurance costs for the health benefits for their employees. The revenues, though, showed a great and healthy increase throughout the year. They grew by $273,000, of which $223 were program revenues. Already this summer, we have, after speaking with the director and the assistant director of the community school, we are seeing increased revenues over the previous year. So I think this healthy increase would continue, and I don't anticipate another deficit in the community school at the end of FY25. Expenses on that end grew, like I said, by $296,000. This was, like I said, mostly due to health insurance, payroll obligations, and inflation as well played a part, as it has played for the school budget as well. For anything that's being ordered these days is at a higher cost than it was a year ago. And I want to take a moment, as every year, to thank all the organizations that do support the community school throughout the year. Remain Nantucket, Nantucket Community Foundation, the Nantucket Golf Club are just a few, as well as all family donors or smaller donors that provide support to the community school to maintain affordability of its programs and to maintain operations of the community school. As we know, it's extremely important to our community, providing all the services it does. School lunch program ended up with a substantial deficit, $91,500 close to. Revenues slowed down because due to the fact that the reimbursement rate this year for lunches was lower than the previous year. So last year we received a $4.47 per lunch reimbursement rate. This year it dropped down to $4.30. That contributed to a revenue shortfall this year compared to last year of close to $11,000. Expenses grew as well. We did know that because there was obviously contractual agreements. School lunch program has struggled to attract employees throughout the years I've been here, more so in the past 3 years. And so we, after discussions with the food service director, Linda Peterson, as well as the regional director for Chartwells, Erin Long, we decided that it merited a bigger increase to employees per hour than was budgeted for them. So that contributed to a $100,000 increase in expenses, as well as the aforementioned inflationary adjustment to all the products that obviously a school lunch program requires. We did see an increase in meals served, but like I said, this was offset by the drop in the reimbursement rate. We continue to provide free meals. All meals will be free to all students in the upcoming 2024-2025 school year. So the reimbursement rate is growing slightly. So we'll see how this year plays out. With that, I can take any questions.
How many employees do you know, the community school?
The community school full-time, I believe they have 14 employees. And then they have obviously fluctuating number of seasonal and temporary employees depending on programming and depending on, more so in the summer than in the other times of the year.
Just one question, sorry.
Yeah.
With the residential programs, are there state programs and private programs? And then cost-wise, is there sort of a general guesstimate of what it would cost for a student, or can it range from this to this?
The second one.
ranges.
It
I
ranges.
have a really good answer for that. Do you want me to?
I would love that,
Alright.
yes,
Yeah,
sorry.
absolutely.
Yes. Thank you, Nancy. Don't
Yeah.
go too far away.
No, I'm here.
I'm not out of the hot seat yet.
So one of the things that I try to do in working with Martin on this is keeping him consistently up to date, because this does fluctuate. We have done, and I'm incredibly proud of our district for this, we have kept the number of kids that we have sent out of district at a very low number. Right now, we're at 12. I would want to mention, however, that 4 of those students that we currently service and support were not ours to begin with. They came from another district. And through a process of residency checks and making sure the parents live on the island because they're Nantucket homeowners, we absorb those tuitions. So, and I will say that they fluctuate, as Martin pointed out. There has been increases over the past couple of years, but we have some students, because of their level of need and services, they're in excess of $300,000 for one student. And that, again, is based on level of need services. To be perfectly honest, as a district in our size and what we have in terms of our capacity, we could not adequately service that student, so that is a justified placement. I would love to see, for our future planning, to be able to divert some of our tuition money, to be able to create more programs on the island. If we could do a collaborative, find me a building, we could do it. And that's something where, because some of our students that do get residentially placed have just hit that cusp of they need that much more support. And it has a lot to do with social emotional need. So those, when we come to our lowest tuition right now, I want to say, is actually because it's a cost share with DCF. We only pay half tuition for a student. It's $150,000. But again, that student is at $300, which is in addition to another student that's at that rate. The average rate right now is at about $225,000 per student. Yeah, and we also, as Martin mentioned, this was the second year that we were able to reclaim on circuit breaker. We provide transportation for our families to be able to bring their children home, as well as to be able to transport them there. And we do a lot of we have a lot of creativity behind that, because when the state asks, well, okay, you get them a ferry ticket over, why do you have to rent them a car? I said, because they need to get to the school, because we're not sending them with a car. So the state has slowly started to transition in understanding what our level of need is, but our transportation costs were in excess of $25,000 last year. Mm-hmm. And thankfully we can reclaim 75% of that from the state. And as Martin mentioned, the circuit breaker that I submitted last month was $800,000, of which we'll get back about 75%.
And children who are in the residential programs, I assume there's an annual evaluation, but
Yep.
they are also qualified till they're 22, correct?
That's correct.
Yeah.
So what we do is we maintain, depending on when their eligibility date is, every 3 years we do a reevaluation, and we also have an annual review, and one of our district liaisons serves as our out-of-district special ed liaison and does all of those meetings. Essentially, the private school or the residential school develops the IP in cooperation with the district, and then depending on where the student is, a lot of our students right now are at a cusp as well. We're only looking at, we have 3 students that will only be placed for another year because they're going to be turning 22. And then we have other kids that will be a much longer range. So that's what I try to provide Martin with on like a every 3-month basis of where we're at in the process, because we're also looking at right now, I'm in discussion with a few families of trying to bring back at least 3 kids by the end of next school year, because they've gotten to that point where they're ready to transition back.
It's interesting that you say that social emotional reasons are the highest reason for students
Yeah.
to continue to require intensive help and support. So it would be, as we move forward and look at the options, if we have options with the town, support a building for us to be able to have our students attend a program here on island, it would be good to have sort of the numbers or percentages of students who benefit by not being out of placement, because you and I have had this conversation before, and I know for a lot of families that's not a choice, a first choice.
It absolutely
to be sending
isn't.
a student.
And I will tell you, it is a choice of last resort for us, because we fully understand and I empathize with our families, because that's a huge decision to have to make. And it's not, it absolutely is not an easy one. And as a matter of, as I said, for a future discussion, having a facility or a building where we could have a multi-graded program, there are students that are in the district that could benefit from, short-term placement to be able to restart and then reintegrate. And there are many programs around the state that exist like this, and it's not beyond the reason of comprehension for Nantucket to start considering it. But again, it would just be having the facility to be able to do it. We have the staff. It's not like I'm talking about creating a new school. We just need to find space to be able to do it.
And so you have the number of students or
Unquestionably.
support, so
Unquestionably.
that's a good project to look forward to.
Yeah.
Sorry. It's
Yeah.
just-
Yeah, no, everybody pretty much knows that's my hope, to be able to look at that, because an expenditure right now of $1.7 million annually is a lot of money.
If I may, maybe this is pointing out the obvious, but we do belong to a collaborative. We belong to the Cape Cod Collaborative, but because of our geographic location, we cannot have students attend school there because we just don't have the
Right.
transportation. So that would have been a huge cost savings if we had been able to allow our students to do day school with the Cape Cod Collaborative, which is what all of our Cape Cod communities are able to do. So that's a frustration that we have, and unfortunately, it's a costly one. So that is really why we have to send so many people out, is because we just don't have the ability to utilize the collaborative. And we know that the collaborative does have limitations. They cannot provide services to the most needy children, and there are in most districts students who need that additional care. So the collaborative, though, is a good intermediate step, and that would help us a lot in current cost savings. So at some point, I hope we can open the conversation and see. Not tonight, clearly, but
No, absolutely
but
not.
it is something that makes sense to us.
Yeah.
And perhaps we can move forward.
Absolutely.
And there are model programs that you've looked at or could look at that.
Coming from where I came from prior to Nantucket, I have had a lot of experience with a variety of programs that I feel would work well. But again, that's a lot of planning and a lot of configuration.
Right.
But again, for me, it starts with space.
How much space are we talking?
5 classrooms. That's what I'm looking for.
Okay.
I'll leave you with that. Thank you.
Thank you, Deb. Yes, of course.
I just wanted to thank Martin. This has been an extraordinarily difficult ending to the FY24 school year, and he has been exceptional in the work that he's done in closing the year out. And so I just wanted to extend my gratitude to all that you do, Martin. It's so important to us, and I'm so thankful.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You're never leaving.
I love it here, so.
Anything else for Martin? Thank you so
Thank
much,
you.
Martin.
Are you ready for the new budget cycle?
Yes. Yes, we are.
Yes, yes.
We have to be. It starts early, so.
Oh my God, it does.
All right, Mr. Travis Lombardi, athletic director. Look, he's so athletic.
Oh, I'm so athletic.
He ran down here.
I ran down here. I'm gonna run back out of here. No. So real quickly, I should probably have been standing here a couple of years ago with some of these changes that we've been working on. It's been a topic of conversation between myself and Tracy Malu and Jen Sardellis and Mandy Vassell for the last couple of years. That we need to get together this summer to make some changes to become more consistent and balanced between the student athlete handbook and the high school handbook. So with that being said, we finally got around to it this summer. And as you can see, I'm not going to read through everything, but there are 4 small changes in the handbook that you can take a peek at. But the main one is the academic eligibility policy. for student athletes. And since I've been here, I think this is my, 14th, 15th year in the district, the handbook has read what is crossed out at the top of this here. And we're talking about end of the year grades and how that impacts fall athletes. It's never, in my opinion, really added up to how we do grades throughout the rest of the year. So Tracy, myself, and Matt Hunt met numerous times over the last couple weeks to come up with this new language. And in a nutshell, I guess I'll explain it. Right now is if you fail one class for the year, you are ineligible to participate in fall athletics until quarter one grades are released. So that is, I think there's November 16th, 17th. So that's after fall sports. So you are ineligible to play fall sports. What we're proposing is if you fail one class for the year, you are eligible to start fall athletics. You'll start on academic probation, which has been in place for years. But you'll also have the opportunity to become eligible when progress reports are released, which has never happened. And I believe that, that's obviously halfway through quarter one. I think that's end of October-ish. Or no, is it end of October?
Mid-October.
Mid-October. So if I am one of those students that failed one, I'm on academic probation, I'm doing my work, progress reports come out midway through first quarter, I'm passing everything, I become eligible. I'm all about holding kids accountable, but I'm also want kids to participate and do things that they enjoy. Obviously, if they're not going to do their work, there should be consequences. So that's the big change that we're hoping to see change. And then also, quarters 1, 2, and 3, if you fail one class, quarters 1, 2, or 3, you get put on academic probation, which is like a weekly check-in with all of your teachers. So we're also looking to implement, if you fail quarter 4, you start the following year on academic probation, just like the rest of the school year. So those are the two big changes. You can also see if you fail 2 or more for the year, we're saying you're done. There's no chance you can come back and play a fall sport. You can, if you're passing everything at the end of quarter 1, you'll be eligible for winter sports. But those are the big changes that we're hoping to have approved this evening. Because I am dealing with probably 8 or 10 kids right now that are waiting for this result here. So thank you.
Any questions?
Not necessarily about that, but what's the process for hiring coaches?
There's an interview process. It's posted, like Katie or Eileen post it, and it's open for 10 days. And if there's multiple applicants, like I'll screen them and then I'll interview. And if it's in a lot of cases, like a varsity position, we'll put together a committee, which Dr. Lepre has been on it numerous times before, and then we'll go through the process that way.
If I may add, if there is if there are no applications, it's an annual renewal. So
Yeah, they're
it's
one-year
not-
contracts.
Yeah, it's a one-year contract. So if there are no applications for any new coaches who might want to apply for the position, then the current coach would have to put in a letter of interest to work again in the same position.
So they'll email myself or Dr. Hallett with the letter of interest.
What kind of training do coaches undergo for dealing with our kids?
Like was mentioned.
Outside of just, being on the field and teaching them how to play the sport.
Yeah, so there's CPR training, there's Title IX mandated reported training. They're required to take a concussion in sports class. We're going to add the Narcan and the QPR. Yeah. So those are the types of things that they're required to do.
No, I think your revisions are important because I think athletics is a great hook to keep our kids involved.
Absolutely.
And if you remove all possibility of participating in a fall sport, that really is can be devastating, particularly if a kid plays one sport.
Yeah, I think it's a reasonable change.
Anything else?
No.
I agree. I think it's fair because a lot of the kids who may not fit in the traditional classroom setting love that release of playing a sport, and I'm all with you on making
Yeah.
sure kids can get out and run around and have that team spirit. I don't think I've asked you this question, but I know I've asked Chris and before, and I was looking through earlier and I didn't see it. What is, other than checking in with the principals and teachers, I thought that there was another layer of academic support coming from the athletic department.
Not necessarily. I
No.
mean, it's like the report for the academic probation, the report is given to the student by us,
Yeah.
and it's signed off by all their teachers, and then myself or Mr. Hunt receive it back on Friday and then run that by the principal to
Okay.
make sure we're all on
So
the same
there
page.
isn't like an addition, like when you're on the ferry, there will be someone that will,
No.
like you're highlighted to make sure that
No.
someone's sitting to help, okay. Because that's the other thing with isolation is that kids who need to be in the classroom
Right.
need that instruction time are missing more. I know you try to
Yeah, we need to
schedule
make,
that,
we have to see if the Highline and Steamship can get some reliable Wi-Fi.
We'll see if they're even running.
I know.
If I may, the one thing about that is often those on academic probation are eligible for practice, but not yet for
Totally,
for
yeah.
games, which means they
They
wouldn't
wouldn't
necessarily
go
be
for the-
traveling.
Okay, okay,
Yep.
great. So you're asking us to vote on this tonight?
If you deem it possible.
Yep,
would
so
love
I would just say while Travis is here,
I think it's on the votes to be taken. Yeah.
it is, but
Yeah.
we normally vote on something following.
Got it.
I'm gonna check with my committee to make sure that they're comfortable in voting on this tonight.
Yes.
Okay, are you comfortable? And I am too. We'll get to that later.
Great.
but Just wanted to make sure while you're still standing there.
Perfect. Thank you.
Thanks, Travis.
Travis, how many kids are out for sports right now?
We're at like 230 something. Yeah. 65. I mean, like, I think we have 65 football, 30 field hockey, 30 girls soccer. Boys soccer is around 40 plus middle school, so it's up there.
If I may, I believe we're in the top 10% of the highest participation.
We have a huge participation rate.
Of other school, in the state.
Yeah, I remember hearing when we went to the No Place for Hate training
Yep.
at Endicott College, the athletic directors from Lynn and they're competing. So
Oh,
West Lynn or North Lynn, I
who
can't
was
remember
that?
the other school.
I remember the two of them. Yeah.
19%
Yeah.
athletic participation in their schools. 19%, whereas ours is over
We're like
65.
60, 70. Yeah. It's great.
That is wonderful.
Thank you.
Thanks, Travis. Okay, moving on to committee discussions and votes to be taken. May I have a motion to approve the varsity girls soccer field trip to Colby Sawyer College, August 22nd to August 25th?
But also Kearsarge High School
Oh,
in
right,
Dartmouth.
yes, and Kearsarge High School and Dartmouth College, excuse me, between the 22nd and the 25th
Move
of August.
approval.
May I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I wonder why we don't do this with other sports, to see, like field hockey, to see a real college field hockey game. Well, other sports, field hockey, things like that, so the kids get exposed to see what a college game is
I don't
like.
disagree. This was all coach driven though. Like Coach
Okay.
LeBrecht is like all about this, so he's gung ho. And
No.
he brought it to me, which I thought was great. has value.
Yeah. May I have a motion to approve the change of Tuesday, September 17th, 2024 to an early dismissal at noon due to special town meeting?
Well,
May I have a
second.
All in favor?
Aye.
May I have an approval for the donation of $25,000 from the Nantucket Golf Club Foundation to the Nantucket Community School to provide tuition assistance for families?
Move approval.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. We have in front an approval, please, for the superintendent's 2024 to 2029 contract of employment.
Move approval.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. May I have an approval, please, to establish the student transfer funds year of what? Graduation. Thank you. Oh, young. May I have a motion to approve? May I have a
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, thank you. May I have an approval for the athletic handbook updates as presented tonight?
Move approval.
All in favor?
Aye.
May I have an approval, please, for the meeting minutes, July 23rd, 2024?
Move approval.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. We are going to move the executive workshop minute meetings and the executive session to the September 3rd meeting. Okay. May I have an approval, please, for transfer invoices?
So moved.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Subcommittee work. No, much has been going on, has it, during
We've
summer?
taken a bit of a break over the summer, but we will start up again soon. I would like to call the policy committee together in September or October in order to move us along as we do our regular rotation of policy review. So we'll get that moving in September. I would also like to come back with the diversity subcommittee and discuss next steps. We had some great momentum in the beginning. Things slowed down a little bit with the departure of Dr. McCarthy at the town level, but I think we can come back together and determine some solid steps and how to continue with support.
They haven't filled that position yet, have they? What's happened? The advertising?
Yeah, it's gonna be one process.
Okay, agenda for next meeting will be, you'll do the enrollment and give us an update on opening week, first day of school. Then we'll get summer school as well, the reports, and budget planning calendar. Wow, it's just hits us all at once, doesn't it?
If I may, there may be a shift from the budget planning calendar and budget directives to October 1st. One thing we would like to do, and this is a similar situation to this evening, is we would like to present the school handbooks. It is important that that be approved early so that they can be put
Right.
into place. We suspect that there will not be very many changes. They've gone through some pretty heavy adjustments and changes and revisions in the last several years, but we're in a pretty good place at this point, and I don't believe our assistant principals often are charged with working on the handbooks, and in conversing with them a little bit today, they feel that there's not much that needs to change, so it could be a simple updating a few things and then
And
share.
that would be for the September 3rd
I would hope
meeting.
that if you are comfortable with that after review the handbook changes, that you would be able to vote on the
That
same day.
night.
Yes.
So may I just ask that, knowing that ahead of time, if we could get the changes in plenty of time?
Yeah.
So that we could have a chance to review them? Because I think we showed tonight that we're fine voting on something that we just presented that evening, but it is helpful to get it.
I would suspect that there will be quite minimal, but even
Yeah.
so, of course.
That'd be great. Thank you. Any other updates from committee?
What about our student representative?
We are working on that. So I've been talking with Ms. Bassel, and she's going to make a recommendation to someone. Obviously, we need to reach out to the student and make sure that the student is interested in being a rep. So hopefully we will have a new rep for September 3rd, and if not, at the very latest, our first meeting in October. If I may, also, I just want to be clear that we only have one open meeting, full meeting in September. September. I would hope that if the time allows us, that we could potentially pull in a workshop at the week of September 23rd, I think is a Monday, in order to, some of the potential topics could be MCAS based on whether or not we receive state results. But more likely, or perhaps in addition, I would like to look at the school committee goals and make sure that we have our goals aligned with the district improvement plan. I will reach out to you with dates, et cetera.
Okay, great. If there's nothing else, may I have a motion to adjourn?
So move.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you, everybody. Have a good night.
I'll see you in the morning, Katie.
I can't remember who was talking to me about, they had called the school and all